And now, it's time for MsWeedWiki Speaks. This is MsWeedWiki, and you're listening to the MsWeedWiki Speaks podcast, and I'm talking today with Des from the Mature Canna. Hi, Des, and thank you for joining me on the MsWeedWiki Speaks podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me. I am so excited to join you for your podcast, and I cannot wait to chat with you on some amazing topics.
Thank you very much for joining me today. And I've been following you. I should tell the listeners, I've been following you for a while, and for the last couple of months actually, on Instagram, and I wanted to connect with you. So because the listeners haven't met you before, tell us where you're joining us from.
So I am joining you guys from New York. I live in New York City. I'm a born and raised New Yorker, been here for 35 years, but I did spend some time in college in Delaware. So that's where sometimes the accents are mixed, but I have actually never really sounded like a true New Yorker unless I'm upset.
Really? Okay. So you don't get mistaken for a New Yorker often?
Not that often. But sometimes if you watch my stories, the New York accent just comes out and I trip up my words, but it's fun when it does.
Is this when I should ask you which borough are you representing?
Queens, born and raised in Queens, but I did live in Brooklyn for 11 years and I moved back to Queens 2 years ago. So I am a proud Queens girl.
Love it. And what's the cannabis scene like?
Well,
in New York City,
recreationally, adult use wise, it is still illegal. So, I do smoke and consume in the privacy of my home, and I am 35, so I'm definitely of age. But it's actually a pretty neat scene. You're never too far from a smoker in New York City. And now the thing is, you walk the streets of New York City, and within most boroughs, most police officers won't, stop you or pull you over if you're smoking a joint. If anything, they'll just say, hey, put that away or throw it out or whatever. And if that's the case, you do it and then that's that. But they don't know if you're medical, but medical here is not really ground flower anyway. So, so it's not, no ground flower. The THC contents in certain edibles are and it's mainly like just sprays and oils and tinctures and stuff like that. It's the medical scene is legit, but it is not expansive, and it is helpful though for those who need it. It is very helpful. The program is very helpful, but it doesn't cover all the categories that you might want to consume it, because you can't consume flower like that in medical New York State.
Wow. Okay. So talk to us a bit more about that. So if you get a medical cannabis prescription license in New York City, it'll restrict the types of cannabis that you can use?
Exactly. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So, and vaping is top choice. It's the first choice for a lot of medical dispensaries in New York City. So you can vape, you can spray, you can put chewies like pills or vitamins or things of that nature under the tongue, the tinctures and all the other stuff, topicals. But there are no true edibles. There are no true different ground flower. You can't go buy pre-rolls of anything.
Really?
In New York State, no.
And do you see, because there's been discussion about them, legalizing adult use probably in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's pretty imminent, and maybe, who knows, maybe Michigan getting theirs lit a fire under, the New York government.
Yeah.
Statewide. But how do they justify making that kind of restriction? And are you guys going to campaign for something broader for adult use?
There are definitely broad campaigns for adult use for flower and for other types of consumables and ways of consumption. I think that really is just there hasn't really been strong coalitions, organizations, and educational institutions that are teaching our political leaders what is marijuana, what does marijuana do from a medicinal use, what are the forms of marijuana? I just think that there was not enough solid and centralized education that was being spurred around. And then, there have been legal states that still have issues when it comes to taxation and comes to like regulating legal dispensaries and legal activities. When you look at Los Angeles, even though we all love Los Angeles, California, the black market is high. It produces higher profits than the legal market does. And they've been trying to curtail that for some time and doing a lot of crackdown. So I think New York State, from what I hear, from what I see, is trying to look at the failures and the strengths of other states and what, how the programs are doing there and how that could be replicated here. Because also New York State has been one of those states that has had a large criminal activity of youth and others in jail because of either very small, very insignificant crimes, so some pretty large crimes. But from the insignificant side of it, there are a lot of people who were locked away in jail for smoking a joint, 1 or 2 joints. Right. So the legal landscape, so the political and the social justice advocacy landscape has so much work to do before we can even think, what can we even really grow? What can we cultivate? And how can we sell it? And how can we tax it? Because where are the tax dollars going to go to? So I think that's also like, where does New York State want these, if it legalizes marijuana from adult use and then other forms of cannabis reform here, where's the tax dollars going to go? What is it going to support?
I can see all that thought being put into it, and you'd want to have a very thorough and a good policy the first time. But legalization's been around for what, 6 years, I want to say?
About 2014 or 13, yeah.
Yeah, for Colorado and Washington, right?
Exactly.
A lot of data that they can look at, because I think at last count there's 33 medical and 10 recreational adult use states that they can look at, like Oregon. Like, so many, right?
There's so many now, right?
So
and there's 5 up to vote next week. I think New Jersey's one of them. Is it Pennsylvania, Arizona?
I want to say Nebraska. Could Nebraska be one of them?
It could be one of them. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Yes. There's 5 states. I remember that. I remember reposting that on my Instagram a couple of months, which is great, and I think, if there's a change in the administration, there'll be eventually a bigger push towards maybe federal legalization, or at least having the discussion about it.
Right.
And I know they are long overdue to pass or to have a vote to have cannabis removed from the Schedule 1.
Exactly. So overdue. Right. So overdue. And it really is just a state by state approach now. But I just saw, I didn't I put it in my to read later, but I read the headline that Texas could potentially see, was it like 500 million in revenue from marijuana sales, and Texas is not legal for medicinal or obviously recreational. So
which
at
is
least I don't think it's medicinal.
Because apparently in Arizona it's pretty big. Like medical cannabis is pretty big in Arizona. So you'd have to think, if you're the states neighboring the states that are actually making an income, whether it's tax dollars from medical cannabis or adult use, you don't want your citizens jumping states to get that, right? So it makes sense for them to all eventually get on board, but it does feel like a really painstaking process to have to go state by state.
It was state, exactly. And then you brought up a good example, because in New York State, I go to Massachusetts, to go to the dispensaries there.
Yep.
And so then now you have to then cross state lines.
And then you got to think of those ramifications, right?
Exactly, right.
And all this, and it's all like doing this, like they're impeding people's access to medicine. Why?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So it feels unnecessarily painful for, like to make the access so much more limiting. I wonder though, you hit really on a great point. It would seem that the discussion with legalization in New York goes in tandem with the discussion of amnesty for those charges. Do you think the negotiating on what to do with people with past marijuana convictions is really what's probably stalling
yes, it has been,
and legalization of cannabis?
It has been, because it's not only the problem from like, okay, well, you had a small crime, we can, expunge your record, but then they will have other issues if they ever want to open up a cannabis dispensary. Like some states, you can't, if you have a prior record, it don't matter. You cannot open up a dispensary depending on, the state. And so it can still hinder them in the future in different ways.
I agree.
And so, so it's like, okay, you can get your record expunged, but it's still going to harm you depending on what you do and what state you want to do it in the future. So right. It's like, it's very layered. It's extremely layered. And so I think that most of this legislation should also call for more social equity programs. And then, but those social equity programs be recognized at a real state level, like in a sense, like you get a certification from it to say your record has been expunged. This person has been trained on legal use of cannabis in multiple areas, the policies around it, the guidance around it. And if they want to launch an entrepreneurial business within it, they've learned how to do that. They want to grow. They learned the agriculture and the chemistry and the botany side of it. Like really has to be a well-rounded program to make sure these individuals can go from the pen to really creating new opportunities in their lives. Because for some of them, they probably were smoking cannabis because it cures them, it helps them. Right. For some of them, it could just be recreational. But for some people, you never know why people are smoking it. Some people could be interested in a business within it. And so really helping them understand, okay, this was your crime. Now, these are all the opportunities that are open to you as well. So I think all those things have to happen before we talk about the tax. So that's why I think actually, in my opinion, some of the tax dollars should definitely go towards social equity programs. The administration, some states do administrative costs. They put the revenue towards administrative costs of running a legal program. Some of them put it for criminal justice programs. So I think that a mixture of that tax revenue, if New York State has the opportunity to correct its wrongs and help people like thrive after.
Right. And speaking about the social equity and investing in those programs, you have like a bunch of states, around you that have different programs with regard to that. Massachusetts, I think, is one of the ones I've heard about. What are one of those?
I think it's like drug use, like it's like a substance abuse program, and like criminal justice, I think, is public health, something like that is Massachusetts.
What about equality of access, though? Like there are certain jurisdictions that are trying to or seeming to put in programs to level the playing field. Are you looking at the ones around you where they put programs in place to help, Black, Indigenous, and people of color to become business owners in the cannabis industry?
Yeah. Well, there is actually a school in New Jersey. It's either in Newark, New Jersey, or Jersey City. I can find the information. I can send it to you so you can include the information. But are helping, placing in cannabis careers. Like if you want to work as a dispensary agent or a bud tender, within certain actual 9-to-5 type jobs within the cannabis industry. So there's a school that is trying to train individuals for the future workforce. So that's already happening. I keep seeing ads for it. I see it in like Indeed searches and stuff. So it seems pretty legit. I've been seeing it for almost a year. So New Jersey has already been anticipating,
Which
this
is
vote.
Because that's showing like they're not messing around with wanting
right.
to. And I wonder how much with Canada becoming federally legalized that put pressure on the border states.
Right.
Because
exactly.
I mean, let's be honest, if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, would you be spending tourist dollars in Canada because it's cannabis friendly?
Would I be?
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah. So if I'm a border state,
the tourism will explode.
Right. So if I'm a New York governor, why do I want to lose all my tourism to people going to Michigan and going to Canada for their cannabis and
exactly
cannabis? So
yeah.
I hope they legalize it soon. I was talking to my business partner Natalie about it, and we've already got plans for the first summer post New York City, New York legalization. Yeah. Whenever that happens.
Right. Well, make sure I'm on that invite list.
Oh, for sure. Talking about cannabis, though, tell us more about your journey. How did it start in cannabis for you?
Yeah, sure. So I really started smoking when I was 18, and my first joint was computer paper, because I went to college in the early 2000s. So, we had computer paper because we had those big desktops on in our dorm rooms.
Okay,
so
was it a matrix printer with the little holes on the side, or did you have regular paper at least?
No, it was holes on the side.
Okay.
But we sure got it good up. We got some tape, and we rolled it, and then I was hooked. And I was a heavy smoker then, but then I stopped because I was working like 4 jobs to pay for college. And back then the weed wasn't great in the early 2000s in Delaware.
Right. But look at you defying all the stereotypes, being a weed smoker and working 4 jobs.
Exactly. But I was just like, I gotta focus on work and school. And so I stopped smoking. But then when I was 20, I picked it up again. It was a all day, everyday smoker. And then I put it down, put it back up in my mid-20s. But then I worked for a federally funded organization, so I couldn't smoke at all.
Okay.
And so then a year ago, I was just really stressed. And my boyfriend at the time was like, you know what? You need to pick up smoking again, because you need to chill. He's like, you need a chill pill in the form of this flower. And I had already been dating him for 2 years at that point, and I didn't smoke with him really ever. Really? And he's an everyday smoker, like every day, like all day. Well, not during work, but when he gets home from work. But he's an everyday smoker, and I didn't smoke with him really.
Was that an impediment? Did you ever feel like it created division or an issue? Because that's actually a topic we discuss in my women's group,
right?
My Black women cannabis group,
right? Well, I didn't. You know what? I'm gonna give the stereotype. I didn't think much of it, but I'm just like, is that why you can't like your job? Because you just sitting up here smoking your weed? I judged him a little bit sometimes. I'm like, stop smoking all this weed and playing these Nintendo games. So I did do that a few times. Yeah. But then I was thinking that the weed was like making him lazy. It was making him relaxed and enjoying his hobby. And so when I started smoking, I was just like, okay, I'm productive and I'm focused. I was burning through my work. I was getting through my day. And then I just started to feel more relaxed and more at peace with myself, and finding myself and reflecting and breaking myself a little bit, because I had to, because I had all these layers and all these clouds, kind of blinding me from my true self. Right. And then cannabis really helped me discover my true self and my wants and my desires and my needs. And so I just started picking it up every day. And then I became a all day, everyday kind of smoker during early COVID. Yep. And it helped me through, because I quarantined solo. My boyfriend has his own apartment, or my ex-boyfriend, because we broke up during this pandemic. Okay. But he has his own apartment, and I have my own apartment, and I lived alone at the time, but my niece just moved in. But so it was lonely, but I didn't feel alone when I had my smoke friends. We can Zoom, and, we were, Zooming, we were watching all the YouTubers, weed influencers on Instagram together. And so I felt the community. So I'm like, okay, I'm in my home and I'm solo, but I have all these people I can smoke with on the internet. And I was just like, and in person too, because now that people have been getting, back together a little, pieces of habits, it's just, just gathering and sharing stories and our experiences and where we want to go in our lives, and all through cannabis in a very positive way. And so that's really and so then I started this channel because I was like, well, no one cares what I do anymore. And I love this community, and I want to be part of it because I want to meet others just like myself. And then I also do business. I help startups, and I also have a passion for cannabis, and I have a passion for startups, and I wanted to marry the two. And so that's what, I'm looking to meet awesome, future cannabis entrepreneurs, or just people who just love to smoke, or if they don't like to smoke, they love people who smoke and want to watch us smoke. So that's how I really got into all of this.
Well, and you see, you just totally took my next question away, because I was going to ask you, what made you start your cannabis channel?
Yeah, just community.
But you said I went right into it without needing me.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's perfect, because you touched on a lot of similarities and parallels with my own journey. in that, I mean, up until about 3-4 years ago, the only cannabis I was around was what other people were smoking. The guy I was dating, or, you know, if I was on vacation and someone wanted to pay, you know, somebody to procure a joint for us. That was as risky as it went. But definitely the early days of COVID and that isolation, it caused a lot of women up here to reach out to one another and sesh. You know, it started actually with just me and 2 other women. We would be on like a video messenger sesh, and it just grew. And we realized, first of all, there's a need. There's a need because the cannabis industry here in Canada, it's 2 years old legally. Like, legalization was October 2018.
I remember.
None of the advertisers look at Black women consumers. So they don't look at us for education purposes. They don't look at us for market, you know, analysis or focus or designing their products. And they definitely don't look at us to market to even factor us in the innovation of new products. We're completely ignored. Despite being a huge part of, you know, cannabis culture up until now and its popularity. So, you know, Natalie and I felt strongly that if we built an environment, an online space, we would find the Black women to join it, and that's pretty much what happened. But
and you've come so far. You've come so far in the short amount of time.
Already at 422 members, and you know, and it's all organically grown. Thank you. So, but it was those early days of COVID, and women basically we were all struggling. Nobody knew what was going to happen. Anxiety was on such an excessive level. Like, I was already medicated on antidepressants. I needed to increase like these prescriptions. It wasn't making me feel better. And having that space and communing with other women while consuming cannabis just helped to provide a moment of and solace, I would say. Definitely, because
solace, you know, that's the key word.
It was solid, exactly, solace, because we had no control over everything else that was going on around us, you know. And we were fortunate up here because within, I want to say, a week or so, of the lockdown, they declared cannabis an essential service. So that was great. It meant you could still get, you know, your cannabis to your door or to a post office.
And here it was state by state, right? It was some states deemed it essential, some did not, right?
But then look at where you're situationally during the lockdown. You're in New York City, and what the dispensaries were in, you know, in Massachusetts. Well, your movements are limited as well.
They're very limited. They weren't open, They weren't open. I think they opened in May. I think late May or something like that, because we started going in June. I think so. They opened up in May, and it just, I mean, I am lucky because we have a plug here who has just great product, and he has it in abundance. And so I think I stocked up. I never want to carry too much in my home because you just still never know, and you want to play it, you know, on the safe side. So I never really carried more than half an ounce ever, really, in my home for now. Until a few more years when that changes. But so I never carry more than half an ounce. But I did have half an ounce, and at one point I did have a full ounce of weed, and I was good until June. So I was fine. But you know, if he said, "Oh, I have something new, you guys want to try?" we bought it and stuff like that, but we really didn't have to because that was able to save all that, even with the increased amount of smoking. But I've actually increased my smoking now, so I get that.
No, for sure.
But quality is the issue. You also raise that concern as well. Quality, like what are the quality of these these products, because it's not a real, legal market for ground flower. So where is it coming from?
Right.
Like, what is it? Is this like CBD? I know the difference.
But it's a huge thing I remember the first time I went to a dispensary 3 years ago, and I could see labels with the cannabis, like describing the side effects and the medical conditions or symptoms that it addresses. And to me, the minute I got a vape pen and I saw a label on it, it was like, well, if this doesn't work, there's a company I could go to. It made all the difference in the world, to help for me make me feel more independent and empowered in my own cannabis journey, I should say.
Right. Yes, knowing what you're smoking. And that's and that was the thing too. If you don't know what you're smoking, you don't know if you should be taking that at night.
Right.
Be smoking that before you go to bed, or is it going to make you like get naked and clean the entire house?
Right. And then you'd be confused, right? Which is also, what a lot of people go through with edibles, which is a whole other conversation for another day. But one of the first things you have to talk to uncover with someone whenever they want to start cannabis is, what do you want it for? What effect are you looking or seeking? Definitely.
Right.
That has
exactly. Yeah, edibles, you're right, is a different conversation. I did, my friend, she's just started learning how to make edibles, and when it ended up eating like 60 milligrams each of a brownie, and we went to a rave. This is in March 2019. We went to a rave, and we danced for 4 hours straight.
On a brownie? Wow.
Off of a brownie. I mean, I love to dance anyway, but we danced for 4 hours straight. It was 3:00 in the morning when we realized, because we got there like 11, and I had a piece of gum in my mouth. No one believes me when I say this. And my mouth was so dry that it turned to dust when I finally opened my mouth. It was like, poof.
You disintegrated it. I can't lie, that has happened to me once, and I might not have been sober either when it was happening. So. There's a part of me that definitely relates, personally to that story and that retelling for sure.
Yeah.
What do you see happening for you in the Mature Canna, in the next, let's say 30, 60, 90 days, or in the next 6 months?
Okay, so 6 months, I hope to be on a cannabis TV show okay? So we're just going to put that out there.
I like
I'm
that.
all about,
I like that.
Like, visualizing what you want in the world. So I would like to be, no, I'm not an actress. I'm just really funny when I want to be. So, that's or have written one, which I've been writing one for almost a year. So will that be finished in 6 months? So something in that line.
Cannabis TV show.
Cannabis TV show, 6 months. But thinking back, so for at least the 90-day goal, I want to do different. So we have limited products here still, and so I'm very limited in what I can do. So I got to go to Massachusetts and go get some stuff and bring, so I got to, I have to work on my array of products and, what do people like to see? What do they want to see me eat, smoke, as we're in this community together, let's, try different things, give me suggestions, but I'm very limited to what I can do. So I just want to learn different products, talk about different products with people, what I experience. So I just want to do that in a more grand way, and kind of like what you're doing. And everyone we're having Wednesday, Zoom chats with 100 people or something like that, or even more intimate with like 10, 20 people. And we're just really vibing and like creating and creating content together and just really enjoying the community. So that's within 90 days. But within, I would say 60 days, it's just preparing just to do more diverse activities to continue engaging, because you can't keep doing the same thing, you know, over and over. There are certain things you can build consistency with and people come to like that. And then that's, you know, your brand stamp, of course,
Right.
But then you still have to, you know, people's attention spans are 2 minutes or less.
Right. So who out there, content wise is putting out content you kind of admire or is like catching your eye at this point?
Well, I really enjoy what you are doing with MsWeedWiki and with all your brands. You mentioned like 3 or 4 Twitter, Instagram accounts.
I'm a bit busy.
Yeah, you guys have like 4.
Between us, we have 4, but I manage 2, and then Nat manages 2 as well.
2, yeah,
definitely.
I was like, I should have probably written down all 4 of them, but okay. But yeah, just, you know, what was the question? Stoner moment.
No. Who are the influencers and content are you following out there?
Yes. Okay, so besides you guys, I've also been following Ash Wow. Okay. She's a very youngish Black woman in Philadelphia, California, filming her weed content. She's friends with Koala Puffs. I mean, I do like Koala Puffs.
Yeah, I like Koala Puffs too.
Yeah, I like her as well. And really, I've just been following like a lot of female female entrepreneurs who are making cannabis consumer products. So like Lit and Luxury, Cosmic Hippie _420, Disjointed Show. She's also out in California. I really been digging her work. Honestly, Mary J. Yeah, the Canna Ladies of MA. If I got their handle right, but I like, since I learned about them, I think 1 week ago from your live. You did a live on a week ago. Okay. And I think they joined. It was like, I forget, but I joined it. It was a week ago. I don't know the days anymore.
Yeah, no, and me too. Yeah. They blend for me too. But yeah, those are all.
But I learned about them through during one of your lives, and so their content just varies. Either educational, which I love, is very fun, flirty. Which I love. You know, some have like real chill music content and just smoke sesh, like relaxed Zen. Yes. Any Zen content I love, and you know, the ratchetness that comes out of us sometimes when we, you know, feeling ourselves.
Are you noticing regional differences? Are you picking up on regional differences though? Like the Black cannabis influencers, say from Chicago versus the ones from Michigan. And and definitely the California ones, they have a definite flair.
They bold. California bold. Bold. Miami is wild. Miami weed influencers are wild. They just
I did not even know there were any, because it's Miami and it's not technically legal.
Exactly. You know, I'm blowing it up.
I love that they're blowing it up too, but no, I love that there's content out there, because you know what? They're not creating it for us. We got to, you know, make it ourselves.
Yeah, we have to make it ourselves. And it's, I mean, creative. And I like a lot of cultural ties and what's going on in the political landscape right now. Yeah. You know, just whatever's going on obviously the Black Lives Matter movement is still huge as it relates to everything's interrelated, everything. Yes. And so it's very relevant and timely. I try to stay away from too many political things just because I'm more of a person. I vote for the person. Right. And I'm not really feeling in America any of the people. Right. But, you know, we have to make a choice. And so, but I just don't talk about my political views just too much, because I don't like to incite drama. Yeah, it can. But if we need to have that conversation, like we need to have this conversation, I'm going to have a conversation. Yeah. But it just cites a lot of drama. And it's people don't understand you. Everyone has their own perspective and their own lived experiences. And that's why they might vote a certain way. Right. So, because I don't like any of them. Can we start fresh is what I'm asking for. Like like take all these people out and just put in a new class of people. Okay, we need the X-Men first class to overtake the cabinets in the Congress.
Well, let's see, you know, like I totally get what you're saying. It's and it causes political apathy all around, right? I mean, we get our version of that as well. In, you know, in Canada, you know, they can't keep us that high that we don't notice what's going on. You know?
Exactly. And we know what's going, if anything, you so high, you know what's going on even more.
Exactly.
Because to me, when I'm high, the blinders just come off.
No, it's true. It's true. Yes, because it reveals. The plant reveals more, right? Than it's not hiding truth from you. It's if anything,
exactly.
It's taking away the blinders that were stopping you from seeing.
Being mindful, like we can find little pockets in our brains that we're not accessing on a daily basis because we have all these habits that block out mindfulness. Right. Our habits distract mindfulness.
No, it's true. But I'm definitely glad that I got to talk to you. And I'm glad that we got to have a great discussion today, because I wanted to, you know, introduce my audience to you and what you do. And I'm glad we were able to connect for sure.
Well, I am so happy that we got to do this. I hope we can do more diverse things in the future. We can all grow as a community together and support one another. And once we like legal weed tourism is a thing,
for sure,
we can go travel this world together.
Girl, first of all, the first Afro-Punk post legalization, I will be there. So count on it. It's a standing date. I will stand by those words no matter what.
Yeah, as long as I got a job, I'm going everywhere.
Yes, weed tourism is going to be a thing, and you're going to have to come up here to visit us as well.
Yes, put me any brunches, any little secret, like little private brunches. I got a passport if Canada will let me in.
For sure. Tell my listeners, can you tell our listeners how to reach you, where they can find you on social media?
Sure. So for right now, I'm just on Instagram at the Mature Canna, and you can follow me. I post daily-ish videos and stories of my experiences and what I'm working on and how we can be helpful together. So the Mature on Instagram, the Mature Canna, or you can email me at Maury@thematurecanna.com. Maury is my middle name, but shortened. So I like to say I'm the Maury of telling you that, yes, this business is yours. You are the mother of it.
I love it. I love it. Well, and we'll also include your social media handles in the liner notes of our episode. Thank you so much, Des, for talking with me today.
No problem. Chat soon.
You've been listening to the MsWeedWiki Podcast, and we thank you for your support.